Continue. Here.
Mr. Demink?
Here.
Mr. Leonard?
Here.
Mr. Renault?
Here.
Mr. Renault? Oh, sorry, Mr. Jaworski?
Here.
Mr. Klanowski?
Here.
Mr. Carr? Here. Mr. Brokart is excused. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Approval of the agenda. I'll make a, wait, hold on. Approval of minutes of prior meetings. I will make a motion to approve the minutes of June 20th, 23.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Miller, supported by Mr. LaBelle. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the agenda. I will make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted. Support. We have a motion by Mr. Miller, supported by Mr. Demink. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We have one public hearing tonight. Bass Pro Shop Special Land Use 2023-09, M1, 6.6 acres on the south side of 21 Mile, east of Continental Drive, parcel ID number 1509321260117. Address is 27576 21 Mile.
Motion over public hearing.
We have a motion by Mr. Demink, supported by Mr. Miller. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Ms. Osborne, you want to go over the fine points?
Great, thank you. The applicant is proposing a 6,560 square foot boat service center, which includes 1,800 square feet of retail. Tonight, the Planning Commission is tasked with reviewing the plans to determine if the special land use is allowable and if the site meets the zoning requirement, zoning ordinance standards and their intent as applicable. Thank you. So you're within the letter. I've moved the items that can be administratively approved to the end of the letter in the checklist. So at the bottom of page 1 are the things for the Planning Commission to consider, but I'll walk you through the letter in more detail now. So at the top of page 4 shows that the use that's been proposed, the outdoor storage, is a special land use, and the various retail uses are allowed as well in the M1 district. All the dimensional standards have been met, except for one that was not previously noted in my letter. On the in the storage area on the southeast side of the lot, that abuts residential, and a 100-foot setback should be provided from the lot line to where the storage starts. So that will need to be corrected and addressed by the applicant, but otherwise the dimensional standards have been met. In terms of items the Planning Commission should discuss, the first is on the top of page 5, looking at M1 district additional standards specifically related to nuisances. Typically, this has been addressed in the narrative that the applicant has been provided, or they were asked to address it. So the Planning Commission may wish to discuss any other concerns that they have in terms of nuisances. At the top of page 6, we get into building materials. The applicant's proposing ribbed metal siding. The color hasn't been provided. And that siding will have a painted black metal panel as an accent band. This doesn't meet the standards for building materials, which should be at least brick, face brick, or other comparably durable decorative materials facing the street, and no materials that require painting. Page 7 has the next items for Planning Commission discussion related to screening. The applicant is proposing a 10-foot wide landscape green belt and a 6-foot tall decorative masonry wall along the south or the rear lot line abutting the single-family residential uses. We don't have any information about the plant material for this area other than noting that the existing trees will remain in that area. We haven't received details about the wall, other than that it'll be constructed in compliance with the zoning ordinance. So those additional details will be needed. We also discussed this in site plan review and thought that it might be good to extend the screening along 21 Mile Road to the extent of the improvement to the east, or make the fence decorative there and or add landscaping. So I'll allow the commissioners to discuss that later, those options and other options you may have. On page 9, we get into the landscaping requirements for parking areas. Item E talks about the surface parking lot landscaping that's required, the trees. 4 trees have been proposed, 7 are required. And then the frontage landscaping is slightly deficient. The applicant has proposed 23 trees along 21 Mile Road and 13 trees on Continental Drive. They're just missing 1 tree on 21 Mile Road. And to show that there's a 10-foot wide landscape area along there. Few administrative lighting details are needed, but we'll continue on to the bottom of page 10, talking about off-street parking requirements. The applicant has not provided spaces for vehicles with trailers on the plans. Given the use, the Planning Commission might want to talk about their operations and if parking spaces that have longer would be needed for vehicles with trailers. At the top of page 11, it talks about the surfacing area for the parking or for the storage area. And for the site in general, the proposed boat inventory area is proposed to be gravel. The rest of the site will have either heavy duty or light duty asphalt. So you may wish to talk with the applicant about other surfacing materials or require asphalt for the outdoor storage area. At the bottom of page 11, we talk about ingress and egress. There are 2 entrances, one off of 21 Mile Road, one off of Continental Drive. Each are 30 feet wide. Appear to be 30 feet wide. That should be confirmed on the plans. There are no tapers or bypass lanes proposed. So that's something you may wish to discuss if you think that's needed. There are 3 driveways across 21 Mile Road, residential, but still 3 drives within the directly opposite the lot. That may be a consideration for traffic concerns. There are a couple notes about the bicycle parking facilities, the location, just in general with safety and circulation and access to the building entrance. And continuing on to the bottom of page 14, per usual, the Planning Commission may wish to discuss the site circulation, if there are any concerns about safety and just access in general. And then the location of the trash receptacle, there's a 30-foot by 15-foot dumpster pad proposed at the northwest corner of the gravel boat parking lot. So within the gravel area behind the gated fence, the enclosure height is 9.5 feet and will be roofed. The gates have wood fence slats, and then there are bollards proposed at the rear of the dumpster. And so you may wish to discuss the location and orientation of the dumpster further with the applicant. That's the highlights for the Planning Commission discussion, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Would like to? Please state your name for the record.
Hello, can you hear me? My name's Ray Myers. I'm a designer for Bass Pro Shop for the Boat Service Center. We appreciate the opportunity to present the project and your time to review it. Just a short statement on from Bass Pro Shop. At Bass Pro Shop in Cabela's, we pride ourselves on connecting families and people with nature. We believe that this new boating center location will prove an excellent amenity to boaters heading to and from the lake, as it would be conveniently located 1 mile from Lake St. Clair shores and half a mile from I-95. The service center will operate Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and be closed on Sunday. So operations will not impact any noise levels on nights and only on Saturday. Traffic will also be minimally impacted. On the high season, typically there's 12 to 15 customers per day, and essentially a maximum of 2 deliveries per day, which would be on tractor trailer. I know there was mention of retail. I'm not sure. There's no intended retail sales at this location. There'll be some small accessories as far as boat accessories, but there's no sales of boats. All that is intended at the proposed boat showroom that hopefully will start construction soon at the Cabela's store. The primary traffic will include boat maintenance techs who work on site and customers dropping off their boats. Delivery vehicles, as I said, would be new boat shipments. They'll arrive throughout the week and will typically not be an everyday occurrence. During a high sales season, then obviously it'll be more often, but at that point it would still only be 2 a day maximum. Bass Pro wants everyone to know that they hear the concerns of the location's impact on the local environment and would like to assure that the community conservation is at the core of everything Bass Pro and White River Marine Group does. Our company's mission is to inspire everyone to enjoy, love, and conserve the outdoors, which includes taking care of the land where we live and work. In an effort to maintain the aesthetic appeal of the location, we are willing to create landscaping at the front and around the facility. All fuel on site will be minimal, and as the majority of all of the new boats will not have any fuel in them. The only fuel that will be customers' boats that will previously be in Coast Guard approved containers. When they do the motor testing, they literally put 1 gallon of fuel in the boat just to make sure it's running properly. So Bass Pro Shop is excited about the opportunity to serve Chesterfield community by opening a boat service center station in conjunction with the newly expanded boat show at the Chesterfield Bass Pro Shop store. We hope that it will aid many families in creating unforgivable lifelong memories on the water with loved ones.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the general public that would like to speak on this matter? Please come up to the podium. Sign in, state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Mike Matera. I live at 46860 Jans. I'm a resident of Chesterfield Township. I'm also the builder and developer of the Brookview housing project right across the street from there. I have 3 or 4 minor concerns that I'd like to address. First, and I think you mentioned already that they are not going to sell boats at this place and turn it into a dealership. However, if somewhere down the road they are no longer at this location, I'd like to see some kind of restriction that did not, for my residents, that this doesn't turn into a boat dealership or some type of dealership down the road. That's not supposed to be within 500 feet of a residential district, and they're not violating it now, but who's to say if they're not there 10 years from now, it changes something for my residents. My primary concern is traffic. And it is difficult from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock when the industrial subdivision, all the workers get out of there, and our residents are exiting the subdivision, especially if they're making a easterly move. And I'm sure the technicians there are probably really good at driving trailers and hauling trailers. I do it all the time myself. But a lot of people buy boats and other things, and they really are not very good with using their trailers. And there's additional deceleration activities and acceleration activities that happen with the trailer. If they are allowed to exit onto 21 Mile Road, my concern without some type of deceleration lane there, and also without some kind of restriction to not allow people to cross all the way across 21 Mile Road with trailers to make a left-hand turn, you're going to create a pinch point of traffic with people coming across from the industrial sub and people coming out of our subdivision, and it'd be very difficult. People are looking already for the 94 traffic that's coming off. To put that driveway right there and somebody coming out or hitting the brakes and slowing traffic down will create a long-term problem for the residents. The last thing, and I know we're on a short period of time, the concern, obviously maximum screening would be appreciated, but I didn't know if they were going to have lights on this building and whether those lights would be on after the hours of operation that would affect the residents across the street if they had to look at a lighted sign all night or something like that. I don't think they would appreciate it. And we're selling them a quality of life here to live in Chesterfield. I think they spent a lot of money on these houses, and I want to make sure that they're happy with the fact that they're homes that they live in. I'm not against development. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see investment in our township.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to the commission. Mr. Demink?
I don't really have any questions, Mr. Matera, with your regards to people making a left out of there with boats and trailers. That would have to be a road commission thing because it's a county road. And I think the problem with that would be is because then you also have so many semi-trucks that come in out of that industrial park with all those businesses down there. I know there's a lot of gravel trains down there because there's one guy running a gravel train business that's been in this township for 70 years. So, you know, that is probably not going to happen because now you're going to be restricting all the semis that deliver to Etna Pipe, the semis and everything else. So
I'm not trying to restrict it.
I understand.
I'm just saying the additional left-hand.
I understand.
Existing traffic, I understand.
All right, but that's just my comment on that part. Otherwise, I'm fine with it. I think it's an addition to Cabela's, and we all know what Cabela's has brought to this township. And if they're eventually going to be building a sales, I know there's been talk of a big addition over at Cabela's from myself sitting on the board, and we welcome it. Cabela's has been a great partner. It's been great to work with them, and I think this will be good, and I know it'll be a top-notch operation and look top-notch. So, thank you, sir.
Mr. Riddell?
I'm actually going to defer to Rick. I know he has a list of questions, and I'll wait till those answers come in.
Mr. Carr?
At the edge of my seat now.
One that would be good for you would be circulation of the parking lot.
What's that?
Circulation of the parking lot, how are we gonna move boats in them?
Yeah, I can go through some of my comments. It's up to you.
Well, you want to speak?
Sure, I can speak, and then we'll see
Okay.
see what Rick has. So, we'll start with the traffic. So I do think that, looking at when I reviewed this, I do agree that there should be some type of a decel lane. Similar to 23 Mile Road, this is a 55 mile an hour. It's actually faster than 23 Mile Road, and I do think that people coming in with trailers, I think that they should have a decel lane, to be able to make that right-hand turn into the parking lot. So, to me, I think that a decel lane should be considered and reviewed, because personally, I think it should be installed. The parking lot itself, The one question I had on the parking lot is I do agree that there's parking concerns in regards to the trailer parking, because if this is a service center, people are gonna be coming in with their boats, and I'm not quite sure where they're tentatively gonna be parked while they park their car and their boat, come inside, hey, I got an appointment, or I don't have an appointment. I didn't quite see how that was gonna be managed. There, right there. So I didn't see how that, so I had service parking as one of my notes. I didn't see how that was going to be managed. So I think that has to be addressed in the parking lot, because there's definitely gonna be issues with that. Bike rack, I know it's in our ordinance that they require a bike rack. If, I didn't quite see the purpose of a bike rack for a boating service center or sales center, whatever we wanna call this. But if we are going to require it, I would require a walkway from the sidewalk that aligns with that handicap crosswalk striping that you got. I think that there should be a walkway that goes from the sidewalk to the parking lot that aligns with the striping, so that people can, in case people are, across the street, wanna walk across the street, cause they're boaters and they wanna buy some parts or whatever that is. I think that we have to consider a walkway that goes from the sidewalk to the parking lot, so they don't have to come in with their bikes and or walking from the entryway or cutting across the grass. They should be able to have a designated walkway. The dumpster, that one was really confusing to me. I understood the canopy, the cover, all that stuff. What I didn't understand was the placement. What's up with the goofy angle and, like kind of placed in the middle of the stone? I didn't quite get that. Also I think it had fence with slats, right? Which typically not our preferred enclosure, but I didn't quite understand the circulation, because it's got a sliding gate, which I assume is going to be locked, because you're gonna have boats stored back there. So you have double sliding gates, one on the east entrance, one on, looks like this west entrance in theory, but it's really hard to tell with the way your layout is on your storage, because I don't know how your boats are gonna be stored in there. But you might wanna address that and explain to us how, because typically dumpsters are serviced off hours typically, which means they would need access to that back area, and then just that goofy angle. I didn't quite understand how logistically that was going to work from a traffic flow pattern. So I think that needs to be looked at and addressed. The last thing I had, I thought the landscaping overall was pretty decent. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was for what it is, I thought it was pretty nice. But the elevations, I assume you're going to be covering that one on the building materials, Mr. LaBelle? Okay, good. So I'll skip that one. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jaworski?
Yeah, I think it's a good fit for that corner. I just would like to see a little bit more of the Continental Drive incorporated into it for like deliveries or a separate option. I've seen the other driveway in the back. I'm assuming that's probably just gonna be for the storage area alone, not really to manage traffic for the service center or the retail center. Other than that, I'll let Rick and cover off on the elevation.
Thanks. Mr. Klinowski?
I agree with Brian about the deceleration, taper, and bypass lanes. You see boats coming in, they're gonna be decelerating slowly or for a longer distance. I think it just makes sense. I'd like to see a little more landscaping along 21. I prefer brick for that, and that's about it.
Thank you.
I agree with everything that's been said so far, so I really don't have anything additional to add.
Okay. Mr. LaBelle?
I'm going to do something a little bit differently, if it's okay with the commission. I'd like to have the applicant come to the podium. We'll go line item by line item. Maybe we can discuss what's happening here and up to the.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. The first item that Stephanie talked about was thank you, first of all, thank you for coming this evening. We're all excited about having this here in our township. The first thing that we talked about is, if you can talk just for a few minutes about outdoor storage. What are you storing?
It's boats on trailers and ATVs from the Tracker brand of products. So it'll be all brand-new boats, typically shrink wrapped, and they'll just sit there on a trailer until they're sold. And so I'm trying to not jump all over a little bit, but trying to address a little bit of the circulation while we're talking about what's being, is the intent of the deliveries is you're coming off a 21 mile road, you turn right in, and you would basically, you're pulling the tractor trailer all the way into the storage area, offloading it as it's designated, and then they come back to Continental Drive and exit that way. That would be the typical, what I think Bass Pro is expecting the traffic flow to be. And that's also similar to customer drop-off, is to talk about the trailer parking, is you're actually just gonna pull up next to the store. Bass Pro Shop will have a small John Deere tractor with a hitch on it. They will come get your boat. They'll either literally take it directly into the bays, or they'll take it back to the storage area until it's time to be serviced. So the intent is also for the customer to then be able to just either pull direct through the storage area out to Continental Drive, or they could back up into the parking lot and exit that way. So the short story, the parking itself is really it's for the techs, and then it's for customers who are coming to get their boat. They go pay, then they go back to the side of the store to get hooked up, and then they go on their way. So.
Thank you for that. That's, farther down the list here, but thank you. But back to the outdoor storage. Are we storing motors outside? Are we going to put old tires out there? Is there going to be dunnage from unwrapping a boat left outside, things of that nature? So we want to be clear.
Yes.
We're storing boats.
But yes, and it is a very, they wanted to make clear, it's a very professional, ordered, safe practice. So there's not this excess storage of tires, of 50-gallon drums of grease or oil or something like that. It's done where it's in order, it's safe, and you're certainly not storing excess product. I would say at a minimum a week would be the.
Thank you. The second item on my list is building material. Our ordinance requires brick or better on the front of the building. You currently have a metal panel, a metal slat. What can we do differently to appease our ordinance?
That's a good question, and I sure wish that architect didn't miss the flight. So the metal panel with the white and the black is a Tracker branding architectural feature. As in the typical Bass Pro and Cabela's store, when you go from the rustic lodge look, even when you enter that Tracker Center, it becomes a little more modern and tech looking, and that is represented in those the proposed elevations. I can certainly get with the architect and see what can be done. I know that's just speaking, I know that part is something that they really do like, that look, and that it's almost on top of it, it's a part of their branding, so.
Okay.
And understand that it does not meet the brick facade requirement.
There's quite a few items, so we're not going to give at least I'm not going to give a decision tonight. I personally don't feel comfortable yet, so you're going to have time to go back and speak with your architect. Is there a chance that we can bring these site up on the screen? Okay, on the front of the building, along the front of the building, on the west side, you have a landscape berm along 21 Mile Road. But when you get to the east side of the driveway, it just goes into nothing. You gotta have some trees. Would you consider extending the berm farther along east so it lines up with the fence that is proposed along the back?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, we
you
can
see what I'm
extend the
saying?
entire 21-mile road.
Okay, that's something we can look at. You are deficient 3 trees in the parking lot.
That was an oversight. It'll be corrected.
You're deficient 1 tree along 21 Mile Road. Again, that's something. So let's get back to the method of operation. So you're gonna have an individual coming in their flip-flops, dropping their boat off because they were on the lake and something went wrong. He's gonna stay on the asphalt. He's not gonna go back in the gravel and area at all, and
Correct.
he's gonna be dropping. So there's no general public back in the gravel area.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So, and
So
I would say that, and
They're gonna, I'm
to-
sorry.
just to, except for the potential of them having a boat loaded and they go to Continental Drive, but there's no foot traffic back intended to go look at boats or look at ATVs. You'll be in your vehicle at that point, just driving your boat that you picked up.
Okay.
Mr. Well, can I say ASCO? Can I ask something?
Sure, absolutely.
So it still goes back to the question I had about the, again, not assuming somebody picking up a new boat, somebody coming in for service. You had mentioned a little earlier that, you know, you guys you'd have a little John Deere or something with a little hook or some, a hitch on there, move it around. But again, it still doesn't address, to me, most people, unless you're queuing from a phone, is gonna pull up and they're gonna have a trailer on there and they're gonna have to get out of their car to come in and say, hey, listen, I'm here for my appointment or I'm here because there's an issue. Where does that person queue while they go in and get you? And that whole process takes 5 to 10 minutes because then he's gonna call the Johnny and say, Johnny, go get the whatever, we gotta pick this trailer up off this truck or whatever and take it in the back. Where does that occur in the current layout? That's what I don't understand. Most people are gonna pull up to the east side of the building and just stop their car and walk into the front door. That's what that's what I first see most people doing, right? They're gonna pull in off of 21, they're gonna go straight, and they're gonna just stop on the side of the building. They're gonna run in and say, hey, listen, I got this boat I need you guys to look at. How else is it gonna happen in your current layout?
Yes, and you're correct, and that's the way it is. So that drive is 36 feet wide, with the intending is you have 2 lanes to be able to stack. I know it just shows one way, or 2, direction arrows that are 1 and 1, but ultimately you have 2 lanes of stacking, and, for that, you're talking about being able to stack 6 boats coming all the way to that gate with a truck, a boat, and you got 2 side by side is 6. And ultimately I say that, they say in their high season, they're like 12 to 15 customers a day. So
Yeah, no,
I
no volume.
completely understand the concern, and even if the pinch point happened, you could go 3 across, because there's ultimately, at a time like that, you're not gonna have someone taking boats out the front of that direction, out of the storage area. So we can illustrate that a little better as far as some of the stacking and how that would look, just to have some comfort on that for sure.
Well, yeah, I think so, only because when I see those directional arrows, I think of those arrows are actually gonna be in the parking lot, and if you don't do that, then I definitely think you need to highlight where those people would be queuing their vehicles, because then you would put a sign and say, temporary service parking here, and they're gonna pull right up and they can get out and do it, and then people know that then they gotta go around those, those ones queuing next to the building. Short of having that, people are people, they're gonna do whatever they want then. And then you're gonna have to walk out there and be like, oh, no, I can't have you stopping traffic because we got a truck coming with a load of boats. And I think what we're trying to do as for our planning department is plan that out in advance. That's what planning is, right? Is you plan it in advance. You don't just let it be happenstance when you get out there.
Sure.
You know, I mean, we're a little more involved in that.
Absolutely.
That's all. So I
Sure.
think you do need to illustrate a little bit better how that queuing goes and, you know, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry,
Mr. LaBelle?
Thank you, Mr. Carr. So we talked about dropping a boat off. What about when somebody buys a new boat and they're picking their boat up and the salesperson is demonstrating, how the radio works and how to start it and that kind of thing? Does that happen at this facility?
No.
Or does it happen at the store?
All those sales functions happen at the store. So they will come pick up a boat, they'll deliver it to the store. All of the new orientation will happen at the store itself.
Now, when you say they, the store people will come and get the boat and take it to the store?
Yes.
Okay, so the customer doesn't actually come and
The
pick up the
customer
boat?
does not come here to pick up, do anything, interact with the new boat.
Okay, continue on with circulation. You've got a driveway going out to Continental Drive. Is that a motorized gate? Is that an electric gate? Is the gate locked all the time so we have people coming in and out of that off of Continental Drive?
So it'd be remote operated, automatic gate that obviously the center would have a garage door opener. And then they have a typical, freight operators have that where they can radio in.
Okay, the parking lot itself, the storage area, you're proposing gravel. And I didn't see if there was first of all, I didn't see a detail on what kind of gravel you're going to be using and how it's going to be, how thick it is, that kind of thing. If you can just give us a quick synopsis of what you're planning on doing as far as gravel. Is it a 22A crushed limestone or is it 3-inch crushed concrete?
So it would be a graduated aggregate from, thumb size down to fines. So it's compactable, but just not 100% asphalt. Is the hope of it. As far as, I'm sort of random, but as far as stormwater, we're essentially treating it like asphalt. So all of the drainage, you're not trying to get any infiltration credit from using the gravel. It's merely with all of the sort of turning type maneuvers, gravel can be moved and recompacted, whereas asphalt can get ruts, and that's typically the reason for the gravel proposal.
And that certainly is a consideration for our board because, as you all know, our ordinance doesn't allow gravel. But it certainly is a consideration with the size of that lot, where it's located, and what they're doing. We'll have to think about that. If you can tell us what's going on with the dumpster, that'd be great.
So we show a dumpster. That's what's going on at the moment. It has not been all the way thought out, to be clear. So we'll get with the tracker people and make sure it functions both the way they want to and how they expect a trash service to.
And we're going to want to see that because that's something that we often talk about, how the garbage truck is going to get the dumpster where it's at.
Right.
Public, is it going to back into a car when they're pulling it out? How's the garbage truck going to get out of the site? So we're going to want to know where that's at eventually.
Sure.
And Ms. Osborne also talked about the bollards around the dumpster enclosure. And our ordinance does also require that the dumpster enclosure be of like material to the building. Currently, you have chain link fence on
Yes.
your
So the-
detail, so that's going to have to
We
change.
talked about that. It'll end up matching the building in lieu of what has been proposed.
Okay, my next item that I'd like to bring up is on the east side of the property. There is where the gravel parking lot protrudes farther to the east from the actual paved parking lot. That is, it looks like there's a chain link fence there. A chain link fence and you got a chain link fence heading south along the property line. We're gonna wanna see something nicer there. We're gonna wanna see some kind of a decorative metal fence and some landscaping in front of that parking lot area. Because part of our consideration tonight, or as we think about this, is the gravel parking lot.
Right.
Do we wanna see that from 21 Mile Road? I don't. I don't wanna see anything from 21 Mile Road like that. So one suggestion is to to dress up the fence and put some kind of landscaping along that edge.
Okay.
So please consider that. Mr. Carr also talked about the bike rack coming in. Currently, you have the bike rack shown out by the street. Way out by the street. Just as a consideration, possibly moving the bike rack to the greenbelt area near that tree by the handicap, so that when somebody does ride their bike in, but to emphasize Mr. Carr's point of view as well, how do I get my bike from 21 Mile Road into that area? Please consider some kind of sidewalk or some safer way for people to get into the site. Back in the bottom southeast corner of the gravel parking lot, if you pan up a little bit, the bottom southeast corner of the parking lot, you show a couple of trees back here. That area is, it abuts a residential area. Our township ordinance is written that any kind of a storage area that is up against, in the current district as it is zoned now, up against a residential, which is his R1B, I believe, there has to be a 100-foot buffer between the property line of the residential to the stored material. So we'd like to see something depicted on that drawing that shows that back corner as such.
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna move that outdoor storage area that, to align with that property line and move it 100 feet off. I'm gonna say part of our site planning, putting the dry detention pond where it is, was basically to provide well above that for the majority of it. And so, but in that one pinch point, we'll push that off 100 feet.
The piece of property to the east is just gonna sit as a vacant piece of property for now, and
Yes.
what are you planning? I mean, you're just gonna let it go to weeds again, or is there gonna be something done? I mean, our ordinance does require mowing of the weeds and what have you, but are you planning on doing something other than that?
I think that would be the intent, is to just maintain it.
Just to maintain it? Because
Yes.
the detention pond looks like it's back there.
Correct.
And everything else was administrative issues that Ms. Osborne brought up, the lighting ratio, things. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the only thing I have is we have 6 letters opposing it from the people that live in, right. So that's the only thing I have.
I think.
Anybody else have any other questions? Go ahead.
Just one answer on signage and lighting. The intent is there's not any overnight lighting. So just as an answer to that question, so.
In the winter, do they cut the hours, or are they still open the same amount of hours in the winter?
I'm gonna say it stays, but it seems like it would probably go down.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I elaborate for a moment on the
Sure.
lighting? Back to your question about the site lighting. Our ordinance requires that there's no light spillage from a piece of property. And they have provided a photometric drawing depicting that there won't be any light spillage from the property, as well as cutoff. So even though the light isn't going onto your property, sometimes you can still see a light fixture off in a distance or what have you. But our ordinance does require cutoff, so I think we've answered that question for you. And as far as the signage goes at this point, we're not even considering signage. Signage is a separate, complete different application. Thank you.
Any other questions? Jonathan, do you have anything? Anybody out there? If not, I will make a motion to close the public hearing. We have a motion by Mr. Miller, supported by Mr. Demink. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Our normal procedure is to wait to our next meeting to render a decision, but you have some work to be done. So how many meetings do you think you'll need to get all that back to us?
I don't know.
We meet every 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll try for 2 weeks, as far as.
The next scheduled meeting's August 1st, but you could table up to however many meetings you think is necessary.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone making a decision this evening for up to 6 meetings.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. LaBelle, supported by Mr. Renault. All in favor?
Aye.
Reviews, our Secretary
Thank you.
Rick will do the reviews that we can do in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item A is Tombstone Brewery, Site Plan 2023-08. It's an MX1, a new zoning area for us, 0.82 acres. 0.82 acres, southeast of Jefferson Avenue, northeast of Cotton Road. The address is 47240 Jefferson Avenue. The last time you were in, the applicant, he was given a list of items that needed to be addressed. The only thing that I can see on the list that hasn't been addressed is the lighting ratio on a photometric drawing. The applicant has since met actually with somebody today, and he was provided with another photometric drawing, which he's not prepared to present to us tonight, but at least he is attempting to do something. And I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman. Based upon he's not doing any construction on the site. It's an existing building. He has eliminated the driveway. He's done almost everything that we've asked. I would like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. LaBelle, supported by Mr. Renault. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Good luck. When you opening?
We're thirsty.
I'll do my best to get it quickly.
Item number 7 is comments from the floor as permitted by the commission on non-agenda items. Number 8, non-agenda related communications. Receive and file all comments regarding agenda items. Number 10, committee reports, ordinance amendments, board liaison reports, reviews and discussions for members of the commission, consultants, and township employees, and commissioner comments. Mr. Demake?
I don't have anything. Just thank you again for all your time and effort that you put into all the items that come in front of us.
Thank you. Mr. Renault?
Just something real quick, actually, for Mr. Demink. Next time you go back to the board meeting, I did attend the last township board meeting, and just 2 comments. I wish I would have expressed them that evening, but did not happen. One, Trustee Joseph actually made some comments about one of our fellow commissioners here, or one of our board members here, and I did not appreciate the fact that he took his statements out of context with regards to some of the local municipalities, in particular Roseville and East Point. Took that completely out of context and misquoted them, and did not quite appreciate that. And then the other one was Clerk Barry. She had actually made a comment about the fact that we weren't treating the, I guess the locations for selling cannabis should be like businesses with regards to how we're treating them with distances and that. My only question would have been, show me another cannabis business that's alike in the township, and I'd be happy to copy those. So, but other than that, appreciate all you've been doing.
Thank you. Mr. Carr?
Nothing.
Mr. Jaworski?
Nothing for me tonight.
Mr. Klonowski?
Nothing for me.
Mr. Leonard?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. LaBelle?
I have 2 things. Certainly, there's something I think that we need to start considering is DTE is, and Mr. Carr could probably elaborate on this, DTE is approaching other townships in the area, mostly in the Thumb, to put in solar farms. I took the opportunity to go to a board meeting from another piece of property that I own in Delaware Township, and they're in the process of writing their ordinance for solar farms. And one of the things that we talked about in this meeting is setbacks. And the first thing that came into my head was we were looking at a piece of property, changing it from M1 to M3, I believe, on Bates Road, and there was this house that was cut out of that piece of property. If DTE was to, this is just a scenario, come in and put a solar farm there, they could put solar panels all around that house, and how would that gentleman ever sell that place? Nobody would ever want to buy that. So one of the things that we talked about in this meeting was giving like a, you know, a 300-foot setback. And my concern is and I don't know if DTE is planning on doing anything in our area or any other energy producing company, but I think we need to be prepared for that because I truly believe it's coming. And the second thing is I'm looking for volunteers for pre-planning. Mr. Leonard? Oh.
Is that it? Is that it? I have nothing to discuss, so if nobody else wants to address the board, I will make a motion to adjourn at 7:52. We have a motion by Mr. Miller, supported by Mr. Renault. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.